Hello everyone and welcome to another very impressive game from round 3 of this year's London Chess Classic. It is Michael Adams versus Mateusz Bartel. Adams doing really great in the tournament. He had a win against Tabatabai in round 1 and Mateusz lost to Gukesh in round 1. So Adams would of course like to continue his run and Mateusz would like to bounce back with a win. But it's not going to be easy, as even though there are of similar rating here, 2661 to 2659, Adams some long time ago was actually a full 100 points higher rated. His top rating was 2761, and he currently at 52 years of age, he played against pretty much everyone that mattered in the chess world throughout this period. To give you an example, against former world champion Anatoly Karpov, he played several times. He defeated him once even. He has 2 draws and quite a few draws, 6 draws against Karpov. Against Vishwanathan Anand, he has 6 wins, 18 losses and 37 draws. Only against former world champion Garry Kasparov, he does not have a single win. He faced him 18 times, but even out of those 18 times, he was able to draw Kasparov 8 times. But then, take it some decade after those games, he faced, for example, Magnus Carlsen in 2010 Olympiad. He defeated Magnus Carlsen in 2010. Magnus Carlsen was a very, very strong player. Also, he defeated Fabiano Caruana in Dortmund in 2013. That doesn't matter when he plays, he just doesn't seem to age chess-wise. And he's playing against Mateusz Bartel, like I said, Polish Grandmaster, 4 times a Polish champion, also represented Poland many times in the Olympiad. So, 2 strong players brawling it out. Let's see what happens. So Adams has the white pieces, and he opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to c6 going for the Caro-Kann defense, and now pawn to d4. We have d5, knight to c3, and now we have pawn to e5. He did not go for knight to c3. He went for the advanced variation for pawn to e5, and now bishop to f5. And here, I always say that you could go for the bayonet attack with g4, and if you face the bishop to f5 move quite a lot of times, maybe in your online games, maybe you can explore this. It's a very creative idea. For example, let's say you play f4, black will play f6. You can even go h5, and you can really go after that bishop. And once black stops you trapping it, you can even play f5 and sort of trap the bishop this way, making it useless. But okay, black will have some f4 ideas himself, maybe later on to free up the bishop. It's possible. If you struggle with the bishop to f5 line, maybe try it out. But knight to f3 is the classical way that, of course, we will see here. Bishop to e2. Pawn to e6, bishop to e2, and now knight to d7. We have castles, and now pawn to a5, stopping pawn to b4, also getting ready for further expansion on the queen side. Pawn to a4, stopping b5, and now pawn to f6. Of course, you want to break white's strong center here. Bishop to e3, and now there are a couple of games that reach this position. For example, f captures on e5 is a known move, queen to c7 is a known move, but here we have queen to b6 by Mateusz, and it is now as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So it's a pretty standard maneuver that you will see, putting pressure on the center. This will help support c5. Also, you're putting pressure on b2. What can you do here? Well, Adams plays something that looks like something I would play in a bullet game and blunder 2 of my pawns. That's exactly what it looks like. Knight to d2. And it looks like you can just capture on b2 and then on c2. So what's the real idea here? Why is he offering this pawn? Well, capturing on b2 with the queen is actually the top move recommended by the ancient, but it's such an ugly position for black to face, especially if this is a preparation. I don't know if this is a preparation or if Michael came up with this over the board, but the idea is that after captures, there's knight e1. Defending the pawn, and now you will go after the black queen. So the black queen should escape. Now you bring the knight to d3, and after black develops, but it's not easy for black to develop. How do you develop the bishop, the knight, get the rook into the game? Let's say you try something like this. You want to go for the standard g6 square. Already e captures and f6 happens. And if knight captures and f6, the knight finds a beautiful outpost on e5. And again, black will struggle with development. For example, knight to g6, there's already g4 trapping the bishop. There's nothing you can do here. With bishop e4, you attack the queen, and once the queen moves, f3 again traps the bishop. A very, very tricky idea, this knight b to d2 move. So Mateusz decides against this. He plays f captures on e5, knight captures, d captures on e5, and now he goes for bishop to c5. Again, capturing on b2, rook to b1, then the queen has to capture on c2. Everything gets traded off here. You will see rook captures on b7, bishop captures on a4, and it seems like black is up 2 pawns, so why not go for this? Well, the problem is, how do you develop your king side? For example, knight f3, what do you play? Of course, I'm like knight e7, knight g5, and already black resigns this. There's no good move here. So after d captures on e5, bishop to c5 was played, and now bishop captures on c5. Queen captures on c5, and now knight to b3, attacking the queen, and again, offering some material here. But if you go for it now, let's say queen captures on c2, queen captures and bishop captures, then knight to d4, attacks the bishop and the e6 pawn. And if you want to defend it, you just kick it away further, and after bishop g6, you capture on e6, and now it's, again, much better for white. You're going after this check here, and also you're attacking the g7 pawn. If you defend it, then you can just move away. Let's say check, king e7, now you play f4, then you play f5, and again, white gets a winning position out of this. So after knight b3, queen back to e7 was played, and now bishop to h5 with check, forcing Mateusz to play pawn to g6, because if you play bishop g6, then you can just capture and mess up black's pawn structure. So g6, and now bishop back to e2, and now pawn to h5, stopping any g4 ideas. And it seems that black survived this and is back into the game, but the question is, how do you develop the knight, and also how good is this light square bishop with all of the pawns on light squares? So queen to d2, now it's time to grab hold of the dark squares, and queen to c7. Of course, you have to defend the a5 pawn. Queen to d2 also put pressure on that a5 pawn. Bishop to d3 offering a trade, and now knight to h6, trying to get the knight into the game. Knight to d4, and now we have queen to e7. We have rook to a3, bringing the very strong piece into the game. Rook can come then to b3, put pressure on b7. Now comes bishop captures, rook captures on d3, and now knight to f5. So it seems Mateusz solved all of his developing problems. Knight captures, g captures, and now pawn to c4. So is he in any trouble here? Well, let's see. King to f7. You have to connect rook somehow, and now c captures on d5. E captures, and rook to e1, preparing pawn to e6. Now, for those of you who are, maybe approaching chess in the spirit of the great Mikhail Tal, you might probably consider a move like e6 first, and then after queen captures, then rook to e1. But after queen to d7, it's not easy to figure out how to continue this. Probably you go after the f pawn, and you're still going to win this game. But it's much cleaner to play rook to e1 first. And now you're threatening e6, so king to e6 was played, stopping e6, and now rook to g3. And still, how do you play this? If you play rook 8 to g8, which is sort of the cleanest way to play this, you still face rook captures, queen h6 check, and after king d7, e6 check. So doesn't look all that impressive. King to c8, the rook will go after the f5 pawn. It will be very, very hard to defend. But in the game after rook to g3, queen to f7 was played, but now the position is completely winning for Michael. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the winning idea here while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on always looking for the weakest spot in black's camp in pretty much every game. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to b4. That's right. That's how you do it. And the reason for this move is that you want to, before pawn to b4, you cannot play queen to b4. If you gain the b4 square for the queen, then your position will be winning. You will be going after b7, you will be going after d6, and there will be no stopping you. So b4 is the way to do it. And of course, if a captures, just queen captures, you've achieved all of your goals. So here, h4 was played, attacking the rook. Rook to b3, and now pawn to f4, trying to get some sort of an attack going against the white king, but now just b captures on a5. Winning the b4 square for the white queen is crucial here. Rook 8 to g8, and now queen to b4. And now, how to continue? That's the question. Do you stop queen to d6? If so, how to do it? If you play queen to d7, yes, you seem to be stopping this, but then you give up the f4 pawn. And then if rook to f8, you face queen to g4 check, and after king to e7, e6 attacking the queen, so you have to guard this pawn. But even after queen to c8, you still play rook captures on b7 with check, because you will win the black queen at the end of this line. Queen g7 check, king will move, you will capture the pawn, and that's all there is to it. So after this queen to b4 move, rook to h7 was played, adding a defender to the b7 pawn, while also not worrying about the d6 square, but you cannot help your king, whatever you play. Queen to d6 check, king to f5, and now again rook captures on b7, winning the f6 square now for the white queen. Queen captures on b7, and now queen to f6 with check. This will now win the rook on g8, so king has to go to g4. Now queen to e6 check, nicely connects with the rook on g8. King to h5, queen captures on g8, and now rook to g7. Now you're just down 2 pawns, so even just trading down would be winning for you, but you could also try and checkmate the black king. Queen to f8 was played. Now comes d4, trying to open up this diagonal to maybe checkmate the white king, but now pawn to e6. We have pawn to c5. There's mate in 1 now if you don't play something really awesome. And while you could go for a king count with rook to e5 check, just queen captures on g7, sacrificing the queen. And he was in this position on move 37 that Mateusz Bartel resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Point is that you are now down a full rook, and if you take the queen, there is no defense against e7. Next move, you are queening your pawn, and that's it. Even if you try something like, let's say, pawn to h3 or pawn to f3, you want to checkmate the king here, e8 comes with check. That's the problem. So once you move, of course, you will do pretty much anything, like, let's say, go king to g4, f3 check, and if king to h4, then you play pawn to g4, you solve all of your problems. Let's say f captures, you will play queen to e4 with check, and only once the king moves, let's say queen g4 check, king somewhere, and now you go after the kill. Rook to e6 with check, king h7, queen to h5 check, king to g8, rook to e8 check. Now you have to block, and that's it. Queen to g6 with check, king h8, rook captures, and f8 will be checkmate. Is only one of the ways how you can end this, but yeah, after queen captures rook on g7, Mateusz said, all right, I resign here. Brilliantly played, Mr. Michael Adams. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Michael and Gukesh leading the tournament after 3 rounds, both with 2 wins and 1 draw. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the tournament, but also what happens with the FIDE candidate spot, as this tournament is one of the 5 remaining in the FIDE circuit. The others being the Gashimov Memorial, the Sunway Sieges tournament, and the World Rapid and Blitz Championship. That's all happening in December, and we'll see if Gukesh wins this one. I think that he overtakes everyone in the FIDE circuit, and he will be granted a spot in the FIDE candidates tournament, although I'm not completely sure on that. So, you know, with each round I will be more sure, and I will keep you guys informed. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank David Gasparian, Dan Schwartz, Keep Up the Rapid, Robert Wistenthal, and Sigurjon Wilhelmsson for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up your wonderful suggestions, whatever else happens in the chess world, and of course continuing the London Chess Classic. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. Do check out the Gukesh game in the previous video if you still haven't. See you soon.